Emily Dickinson, viewed as one of America's best poets, is additionally properly recognized for her uncommon lifestyles of self-imposed social seclusion, living an existence of simplicity and seclusion. She wrote poetry of exquisite power, questioning the nature of immortality and death, with at instances an almost mantric quality. Her unique lifestyle created an aura, frequently romantic and often a supply of hobby and speculation. But subsequently Emily Dickinson is remembered for her unique poetry. Within short, compact phrases she expressed far-reaching ideas. Amidst paradox and uncertainty, her poetry has an simple ability to pass and provoke. Early life. Emily Dickinson used to be born on 10 December 1830, in the city of Amherst, Massachusetts. Amherst, 50 miles from Boston, had emerged as nicely recognized as a center for education, primarily based round Amherst College. Her household have been pillars of the nearby community. Their residence, recognized as the homestead, or mansion, used to be regularly used as an assembly area for wonderful traffic including Ralph Waldo Emerson. Although it not likely he met with Emily Dickinson. As a younger child, Emily proved to be a vibrant and conscientious student. Emily Dickinson showed a sharp brain and used to be capable to create many unique writings of rhyming stories, delighting her fellow classmates. Emily's father used to be strict and eager to carry up his teenagers in the ideal way. Emily stated of her father, "His coronary heart was once pure and terrible. His strictness can be proven through his censorship of studying materials." Walt Whitman, for example, was once regarded too inappropriate, and novels had to be smuggled into the house. In response, Emily used to be noticeably deferential to her father and different male figures of authority. But in her personal way she cherished and revered her father, even if at times he regarded to be aloof. At a younger age, she stated she wished to be the best little girl. However, notwithstanding her tries to please and be nicely idea of, she used to be additionally at the equal time independently minded, and pretty inclined to refuse the prevailing orthodoxies on sure issues. Religious influence on the poetry of Emily Dickinson. An essential problem at the time was once the difficulty of religion, which to Emily used to be the all-necessary question. The antecedents of the Dickinsons can be traced again to the early Puritan settlers, who left Lincolnshire in the late 17th century. Her antecedents had left England so that they ought to practice spiritual freedom in America. In the 19th century, religion was once nevertheless the dominant difficulty of the day. The East Coast, in particular, noticed a revival of strict Calvinism, growing partly in response to the greater inclusive Unitarianism. Amherst College itself was once based with the intention of coaching ministers to unfold the Christian word, Calvinism. By incrimination, Emily Dickinson would probably have been extra at ease with the looser and extra inclusive ideology of Unitarianism. However, the Great Revival, as it used to be known, pushed the Calvinist view to best prominence. Religious belief. Emily Dickinson. The Calvinist strategy to faith believed that guys had been inherently sinful and most people have been doomed to hell. There was once solely a small range who would be saved, and this ought to solely be carried out via the adherent proclaiming his trust in Jesus Christ as the proper Savior. There was once a subtle, however, concerted effort to motivate human beings to declare themselves saved. Both at college and at college, there would have been tons of this refined stress put on Emily to be part of the saved. However, this she by no means did. She continually retained an impartial view closer to the be counted of religion. Faith is an exceptional invention for gents who see, but microscopes are prudent in an emergency. Emily Dickinson, her father, was once no longer too worried with the spiritual views of his adolescence, even though, later in his life, he additionally everyday this belief. Thus, on the essential problem of the day, Emily used to be fairly isolated. Amongst different reasons, Emily may want to in no way be given the doctrine of original sin. Despite closing genuine to her very own convictions, Emily used to be left with a feel of exclusion from the installed religion, and these sentiments inform a good deal of her poetry. There is typical reference to being shut out of heaven. Yet no matter this rejection of the orthodox religion, there is lots in her poetry which exhibits a profoundly non-secular temperament. For Emily, non-secular journey was once no longer a easy mental declaration of belief. It should be greater, precisely mirrored in the splendor of nature, and the experiences of ecstatic joy. Yet, even though her poetry expressed extreme internal experiences, this separation from set-up faith is a component in her uncertainties and fluctuations in sentiment, evident in many poems. It is a count of hypothesis to what extent her poems ought to be regarded autobiographical. However, this poem offers an indication of the fleeting pleasure of non-secular experience, and additionally the extra painful actuality of life. For every ecstatic instant we have to unsuffering pay an eager and quivering ration to the ecstasy. For every cherished hour sharp pittances of years, bitter, contested farthings, and coffers heaped with tears. Emily Dickinson. Emily was once a bright, conscientious student at Mount Holyoke Female Seminary in South Hadley. She was once in a position to find out about a variety of topics from Latin to English literature. However, her research had been regularly interrupted via sick health. After a power cough developed, her father determined to get rid of her from university and convey her lower back home. Thus she left, barring any formal qualifications. However, she had at least been capable to develop her training and vocabulary. Emily Dickinson's later seclusion from society offers an influence of a lifestyles of austerity and simplicity. This has been romanticized, with the often mentioned Dickinson preference for her sporting all-white dresses. However, Emily used to be an eager artist and performed musician. In her university years, she loved singing, referring to the similarities between poetry and singing. She additionally had a sharp eye for stunning art. This visible feel in her perception of vibrant hues is evident in many of her poems. Emily was once additionally properly read, selecting writers such as Emerson, Thoreau, Dickens, John Ruskin, and 19th-century poets like the Brownings and the Bronte sisters. The poetry of Emerson used to be added to Emily via one of her brother's friends, Benjamin Newton. Newton was once a younger regulation student who used to be nicely versed in modern-day literature. He was once one of the first human beings to realize the poetic capacities of Emily and motivated her to write poetry. The works of different poets, in particular, Emerson, had been necessary for Emily Dickinson in opening up non-secular thoughts past the strict Calvinism. Emily had modern views and unorthodox beliefs. However, she regularly doubted her personal convictions. For this reason, influences of Emerson and different poets had been of tremendous importance. On returning domestic from college, Emily Dickinson learned plenty of the home chores, assisting her mom with cleaning, stitching, and entertaining. She sought as a lot as feasible to preserve the beliefs of the early American visitors, following standards of honesty, simplicity, and excessive-minded morals. Emily was once stated to be beautiful, with a gentle voice and darkish eyes. She dressed in a notably easy way, and surviving pics exhibit she stored her hair in an easy straightened fashion, somewhat like the Puritan style. Emily was once quick-witted and intelligent. She had a top feel of humor, however. Used to be frequently unwell at ease in different people's company. She gave the influence of being relatively agitated and intense. Her buddy and literary critic, Thomas Wentworth Higginson, would later say how hectic the assembly with her was. I was once in no way with each person who drained my nerve strength so much. However, he did remark that this little undeniable woman was once additionally ingenious, childlike, and appeared very considerate of others. Also, though she did sense awkward in some social situations, with her shut pals and sisters, she should without difficulty indulge in innocent, childlike humor. Emily herself regularly thinking of herself like a child, even tomboy, and she referred to this in many of her poems. In this body of mind, she portrayed a diploma of vulnerability, searching to others for protection. This used to be mainly marked in her relationship with her authoritarian father, whom she was once keen to defer to. For a time, her father served in the House of Representatives, and on occasion, Emily visited Washington. It was once right here that she used to be capable to come into contact with the charismatic preacher, the Reverend Charles Wadsworth. From her letters, it is clear she held him in excessive esteem, no matter their obvious variations in theological beliefs. The two exchanged letters for many years, inclusive of responses to Emily's request for non-secular guidance. Emily Dickinson's seclusion because of her soreness and shyness in social situations. Emily step by step decreased her social contacts, going out much less into society. By her late 20s, this has led to a nearly whole seclusion, spending most of her time in the household house, not often assembly others from outdoor a shut household circle. Her sister explains this wasn't a surprising decision, however, a gradual system that came about over a duration of time. However, no matter the bodily seclusion, Emily nonetheless maintained written contact with a range of thought-provoking people. It is additionally clear from her poetry that her selection to stay existence as a recluse did no longer shut her mind, however, in many methods allowed the float of new avenues of idea and internal experiences. Despite her family's sturdy political tradition, Emily seemed unconcerned with politics. At the beginning of the American Civil War, she commented little on the event, and picked now not to assist the hostilities effort, via making bandages. To be fair, this mindset of distancing from the combat used to be pretty frequent in the North. For example, her brother Austin selected to pay $500 to keep away from Army service. Alternatively, as the warfare years Superior and Amherst skilled its first casualties of war, inevitably its residents had been drawn in addition into the conflict. Emily and her household have been especially affected when pals of the household have been killed in battle. Death of shut pals was once a good-sized characteristic of Emily's life. Many shut to her had been taken away. This inevitably heightened her interest, fascination, and possibly concern of death, which knowledgeable. So a good deal of her poetry. The Civil War years had been additionally the most productive for Emily. In phrases of extent of poems, it seems Emily Dickinson was once influenced imperceptibly by using the surroundings of war, even if it seemed incredibly far off to her, as properly as writing over 1,700 poems. Emily used to be a prolific letter writer, these letters giving her the probability for contact with others, which in different respects she denied herself. Her letters exhibit her love of language and are frequently now not too numerous to her fashion of poetry. She went to supersize to specific her non-public sentiments of gratitude and love to others, although it need to be remembered this emotional fashion of writing and speaking used to be pretty frequent at the time. They need to additionally be considered in regard to Emily's different letters, which freely categorical extreme emotional sentiments. Many of her poems refer to an invisible lover, an object of devotion. Biographers have inevitably speculated about who this is. There is sturdy proof that closer to the give-up of her existence she had some type of emotional relationship with Judge Otis Lord, many years her senior and surprisingly revered inside the community. However, the poetry of Emily Dickinson was once frequently intentionally vague. The object of her devotion can also have been no man or woman in particular, however some unknown issue of the divine. Emily Dickinson died at the age of 55 from Bright's disease, which is precipitated with the aid of kidney degeneration. Her medical doctor recommended that the accumulation of stress for the duration of her lifestyles contributed to her untimely death. Despite Emily's seclusion and frail health, her poetry exhibits that she did ride moments of outstanding joy. Through nature and existence she used to be in a position to glimpse into a mystic dimension past worldly distractions, though it is additionally clear, this did no longer turn out to be an everlasting feeling. For each ecstatic joy, there looks to be a contrasting doubt and uncertainty. But she used to be capable to provide a concise and direct revelation of thought-provoking thoughts via effective command of language. Even critics of her poetry, who factor to inconsistencies in fashion and form, can't deny the inherent electricity of her poetry. And this explains the enduring recognition and success of her poetry. My lifestyle's closed twice earlier than its close. It but stays to see if immortality unveil a 0.33 tournament to me, so huge, so hopeless to conceive as these that twice befell. Parting is all we understand of heaven, and all we want of hell. After her death, her shut sister Vinnie had been suggested to burn her letters. In doing so, she got here throughout a field of 1,700 of Emily's poems. Thankfully Vinnie omitted any request to burn historical manuscripts. After a couple of years, Vinnie passed them to a family friend, Mabel Todd. Although Mabel had by no means met Emily, she had frequently been to Evergreens, the Dickinson household home. She typed up 200 letters, turning into increasingly more enthusiastic about the splendor and strength of the poems. With the assist and encouragement of Terence Higginson, Emily's long-standing friend, the first version of poems used to be posted in 1893. Her poems quickly obtained brilliant reward from main magazines and newspapers. The New York Times claimed Emily Dickinson would quickly be acknowledged amongst the immortals of English talking poets.